The wind cut straight through me, sharp and unforgiving, as I stood outside the tall steel gates of the DeLuca estate. Snow dusted the empty road behind me, crunching under my boots every time I shifted my weight. I pulled my coat tighter around my stomach, my hands shaking as they rested over the hard curve of my belly. 8 months pregnant. Alone. Waiting. The security light above the gate flickered, buzzing like it couldn't decide if I was worth staying on for. Shadows stretched across the driveway, long and cold, making the place feel abandoned even though I knew he was inside. I tried to move my feet just a little, but my back screamed in protest. My hips felt like they were splitting apart. Every breath felt heavy, like my lungs were filled with ice. He promised me. Earlier that night, Lorenzo had looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "Wait outside. I'll be right there." His voice was calm, convincing, familiar in the worst way, and like an idiot I believed him. I rested one hand on my belly and rubbed slow circles, trying to soothe the tight pressure building inside me. "Just a few more minutes," I whispered. "Daddy's coming." The words tasted bitter the second they left my mouth. My head started to spin. Not fast. Slow. Like the world was gently tipping to one side. I blinked hard, trying to focus on the gate, the snow, anything solid. My vision blurred at the edges. My phone buzzed. Relief hit me so fast my chest hurt. It had to be him. It wasn't. A message from my sister. "Arya. Are you home yet? It's really late." My fingers felt stiff as I typed back. "Still outside. He said he'd come." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then her reply came through. "Please don't wait out there. You're too pregnant for this." My throat tightened. I leaned my shoulder against the stone wall, closing my eyes for a second longer than I should have. My lower back throbbed. My chest felt tight. My hands trembled like they didn't belong to me anymore. This wasn't new. He'd forgotten me before. Missed dinners. Skipped appointments. Promises that mattered only to me. But tonight I needed to believe him. I needed to believe he wouldn't leave me standing in the cold like this, not when my body felt like it was giving up on me piece by piece. Headlights swept across the street. My heart jumped. I straightened instinctively, hope flaring so fast it hurt. But the car didn't slow down. It passed by without hesitation, leaving me standing there like I didn't exist. My breath came out in thick white clouds. Another wave of dizziness hit, harder this time. I swallowed and pressed my palm flat against the wall, grounding myself. The snow-covered road tilted slightly, even though I knew it hadn't moved at all. Inside the house, warm, bright, untouched by the cold, Lorenzo sat in his private lounge. I didn't see it, but I felt it. I could feel the distance. He was sprawled back on a velvet sofa, shadows flickering across polished marble floors. Celine was beside him, close enough that her laughter brushed against his skin. Her voice carried, soft and teasing, pulling his attention away from everything else. She touched his chest. I felt the absence. "You're not really here tonight," she murmured. "It's nothing," he said. It was never nothing. My phone buzzed again in my hand, nearly slipping from my numb fingers. I stared down at the screen, my vision swimming. I typed his name slowly, hesitating before pressing call. Once, twice, 3 rings. Then it connected. Silence. I frowned, pulling the phone closer to my ear. I could hear faint movement. Fabric. Breathing. Then her voice. Annoyed. Soft. "Close." "Lorenzo," she said. "Your wife keeps calling." My body went cold in a way the winter couldn't explain. A breath. A pause. Then she spoke directly into the phone. "Stop calling. He's busy." The line went dead. I stared at my phone like it had slapped me. My chest tightened. My vision darkened. Pain sliced through my lower stomach so sharp I cried out and grabbed the gate with both hands. My knees buckled, barely holding me upright. "Breathe," I whispered. "Just breathe." But my lungs wouldn't listen. The ground felt uneven. My body felt heavy. Too heavy. Each breath came shorter than the last. I tried to take a step forward. I couldn't. A couple walked past on the other side of the street, laughing quietly, unaware of me. To them, I was just another shadow under a broken light. Someone waiting. Someone forgotten. My fingers went numb. The world narrowed until all I could hear was my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. "Lorenzo," I whispered. My knees gave out. The cold concrete rushed up to meet me, my hands missing the ground as my body fell sideways. My phone slipped from my grip, hitting the pavement with a crack, his name still glowing on the screen. I wrapped my arms around my stomach without thinking. Protecting. Always protecting. My breath came out shallow, uneven. Then everything went dark. I don't know how long I was there. Time stopped meaning anything once the cold soaked into my bones. Snow gathered around my hair, melting against my skin, then freezing again. My breaths came weak, like my body was forgetting how to keep me here. Inside the house, Lorenzo finally noticed his phone. It had been buzzing on the glass table for a while, vibrating against the silence he'd built around himself. He sighed, annoyed, and grabbed it without much thought. 5 missed calls. All from me. Something twisted in his chest. Sharp. Sudden. Before he could tell himself it didn't matter, the phone rang again. An unfamiliar number. He answered with irritation still on his tongue. Who is this? A calm voice replied, clipped but urgent. Sir, is this Lorenzo DeLuca? His grip tightened. Yes. Your wife was found unconscious on the sidewalk outside your residence. The room went quiet. Too quiet. She was asking for you before she passed out. His breath stopped. The phone nearly slipped from his hand. For a second, all he could hear was a dull ringing in his ears, like his body didn't know how to process the words. What? He demanded. Where is she? She's being transported to North Ridge Medical Center. Her condition is unstable. Unstable. The word punched straight through him. He jumped to his feet so fast Celine flinched. What's going on? She asked, irritation fading into confusion when she saw his face. He didn't answer. He grabbed his coat, his keys, his phone, anything within reach. His hand shook as he moved toward the door. Lorenzo, where are you going? She called. He didn't turn back. To my wife. The finality in his voice sucked the air out of the room. The door slammed behind him. The cold outside hit him like punishment. He ran for the black SUV, breath ragged, fingers fumbling with the keys. His mind spiraled. She was outside. She was alone. She called me. I didn't answer. The engine roared to life. Tires screamed against the snow as he tore down the driveway. The gate crawled open, too slow, and he slammed his fist against the steering wheel. Move! He shouted. When there was just enough space, he forced the car through, metal scraping metal, sparks flying as he shot onto the road. The city blurred around him. Red lights. Horns. None of it mattered. All he could see was my face. Pale. Tired. Still trying to believe in him. I promised, he whispered. I promised. By the time he reached the hospital, he abandoned the car in the emergency lane and ran inside. The bright lights burned his eyes. Nurses turned as he burst through the doors, frantic and breathless. My wife, he said. Her name is Sofia DeLuca. Sir. Please, his voice cracked. Just tell me where she is. A nurse glanced at her tablet. She was brought in minutes ago. Severe exhaustion. Blood pressure dangerously low. And the baby? His chest tightened. We're still assessing. It felt like the ground dropped out from under him. He paced. Dragged his hands down his face. Every second stretched thin and sharp. His mind replayed every moment he ignored me. Every call he didn't answer. Every night I waited. Footsteps approached. A doctor stopped in front of him. She's stable for now, but very weak. Dehydration. Emotional stress. She'd been standing outside for a long time. Lorenzo lowered his head, jaw clenched. And the baby? He asked, barely breathing. The pause nearly destroyed him. The heartbeat is present, the doctor said carefully, but irregular. We're monitoring closely. His knees almost gave out. Can I see her? She's resting, the doctor replied gently. She asked for you before she lost consciousness. But when she wakes up, she may not be ready. She asked for me, he repeated, like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Yes, the doctor said. She kept saying your name. They let him down the hallway. When the door opened, I was there. Small. Pale. Wrapped in white sheets. Machines beeped softly beside me. My hand rested over my stomach like even unconscious. I knew what mattered most. He stopped at the doorway. He couldn't move. I never looked so fragile, so breakable. He stepped inside slowly, afraid the sound of his shoes might wake me. He stood beside the bed watching my chest rise and fall. He reached out, then pulled back. He didn't deserve to touch me. "I'm here," he whispered. I didn't open my eyes, but a single tear slipped down my cheek, and it shattered him. He covered his mouth, shoulders shaking, standing there like a man finally facing the damage he caused, knowing some things couldn't be undone. Not ever. He didn't leave. Hours passed. The night bled into early morning, the hospital growing quieter with every ticking minute. Lorenzo sat in the stiff plastic chair beside my bed, elbows on his knees, hands clasped so tight his knuckles went white. Machines hummed. My breathing stayed shallow. The baby's heartbeat fluttered through the monitor, uneven but still there. Every sound felt like a warning. His phone buzzed. He glanced down. Celine. The name made his stomach turn now. He silenced the call without answering and set the phone face down, as if burying it might erase the life he'd been escaping into. The door opened softly. "Lorenzo." My sister Arya stepped inside. Her eyes were red, swollen, filled with something sharp and dangerous. He stood slowly, bracing himself. She didn't hesitate. "You did this." He didn't argue. "You left her outside in the cold," she said, her voice low and shaking. "She called me before she collapsed. She said she was dizzy, scared, and she still waited for you." His jaw tightened, guilt crashing down on him in heavy waves. "She almost died," Arya whispered, "because she still believed you might come." The words hit harder than any threat ever could. "I know," he said hoarsely. "I failed her. But I'm here now. I'm not leaving." She laughed quietly, bitter. "She hasn't been safe with you for a long time." He closed his eyes. She walked to my bedside, brushing my hair back gently. "She deserves peace," Arya said. "Not excuses." When she turned back to him, something in her expression shifted. Just slightly. "If you really mean it," she added, "then don't overwhelm her when she wakes up. Don't apologize just to ease your guilt. Give her space." He nodded. "I will." A nurse stepped in. "She may wake soon." Lorenzo's chest tightened. Arya looked at him. "Go wait outside. If she opens her eyes and sees you first, she might panic." He hesitated, every part of him resisting. But he nodded. "I'll be right outside." He stepped into the hallway and leaned against the wall, staring at the floor. Through the door he heard a soft shift. I stirred. My fingers twitched. My breathing changed. Arya leaned close, whispering, "Hey, you're okay. You're safe." My eyelids fluttered. "Arya." My voice came out small, broken. "I'm here." I swallowed, my chest tight. My eyes drifted around the room slowly, searching without meaning to. "Where's Lorenzo?" I whispered. Arya's mouth tightened. "He's here. Just outside." Tears burned my eyes. "I called him," I said. "I waited. Why didn't he come?" She squeezed my hand. "He made mistakes. Big ones. But he hasn't left this hallway." I closed my eyes, pain twisting deep in my chest. "I thought something was wrong with the baby," I said. I couldn't breathe. I was so scared. "You don't have to see him," Arya said softly. "Not yet." I turned my face toward the window. "He chose her," I whispered. I heard her voice. Silence filled the room. I don't know how to look at him without breaking. Outside, Lorenzo heard everything. Every word. Every crack in my voice. He pressed his forehead to the wall, biting down on the ache in his chest. "I'll fix this," he whispered to himself, "even if she never takes me back." He waited. An hour. Then more. Doctors passed. Nurses whispered. He didn't move. A doctor stopped in front of him. "Her stress levels are still high. She needs calm. And space." He nodded. "I understand." "She asked if you were here," the doctor added. "Not to see you. Just to know." That small truth hurt almost as much as the rest. Finally, the door opened. Arya stepped out. "You can go in," she said quietly. "But don't expect conversation." He swallowed. "Did she ask for me?" "She asked if seeing you would help or hurt." "I won't push." She studied him, then stepped aside. Don't touch her unless she asks. He entered slowly. I was awake now, propped against pillows, a blanket pulled over my belly. My eyes were swollen from crying. When I saw him, I looked away. Sophia, he whispered. I didn't answer. I'm sorry, he said. His voice shook. I'm so sorry. I swallowed. Why didn't you come? The question wasn't about one night. It was about everything. I failed you, he said. I let things matter that never should have. You didn't answer, I whispered. She did. He closed his eyes. I was with her. The truth hurt, but the lie would have hurt worse. You chose her, I said. I was running, he said. From fear. From responsibility. Not from you. I turned away, tears sliding down my face. Is the baby okay? The heartbeat is weak, he said gently. But they're watching closely. Fear flickered through me. I don't know if I can forgive you, I whispered. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he said. I'm asking for time. I need space. You'll have it. Exhaustion pulled me under. I'm tired, I murmured. I'll go, he said. At the door he paused. You and the baby are all that matter to me now. The door closed softly. Inside I cried quietly. Outside he sank into the chair. The weight of everything pressing down on him. 2 hearts broken. Still close. Still so far apart. Morning came slowly. Not gently. Slowly. Like the sun wasn't sure it wanted to touch any of this either. Light crept through the narrow hallway windows, thin and pale. Lorenzo hadn't moved from the chair all night. His back ached. His eyes burned. His jaw felt locked tight. Like if he loosened it even a little, everything inside him would spill out. Doctors passed by with charts. Nurses whispered updates. My blood pressure was climbing. The dehydration was improving. The baby's heartbeat was still uneven, but stronger than before. Each update let him breathe for half a second. Each one also reminded him how close he'd come to losing everything. I won't let this happen again, he muttered under his breath. Not one more time. Footsteps approached. My sister came down the hallway holding 2 paper cups. She hesitated before handing one to him. She's resting, she said quietly. Did she ask for anything? He asked. She studied his face for a long moment. She asked if the baby was okay. Then she asked if you were still here. Something fragile cracked open in his chest. What did you tell her? That you haven't left. He nodded once. Good. They sat in silence. Not friendly. Not hostile. Just heavy. You hurt her, my sister said eventually. You broke something she believed in. I know, he replied. I'll fix what I broke, even if it takes the rest of my life. She didn't answer. Just stood and walked away. Hours passed. Inside the room I woke slowly. My body felt like it had been dragged across concrete. Every muscle sore. My throat dry. My head heavy. But the baby moved. A slow roll. A soft push. Relief flooded me so hard my eyes filled. A nurse smiled when she checked my vitals. Your husband hasn't left the floor. I don't want him to feel obligated, I said quietly. She shook her head gently. That doesn't look like obligation. After she left, I stared at the window. The city looked the same. Busy. Alive. Like nothing had happened. A soft knock tapped the doorframe. I didn't say anything. He stood there waiting. Not stepping in. Not assuming. I looked at him for a long second. That was enough. He entered slowly. How are you feeling? He asked. Tired, I said. But better. I'm glad. Silence settled again. Different now. Less sharp. Still fragile. The doctor said the baby's improving, I said. He nodded. I heard. I rubbed my stomach slowly. I don't want to raise a child in a house full of pain. Then I'll fix the house, he said. Starting with me. Words are easy, I replied. I know. He took a careful step closer. So I ended it. Completely. My breath caught despite myself. You should have done that before, I said. You're right. I don't want to depend on you anymore, I whispered. Every time I waited, I felt smaller. Then don't depend on me, he said softly. Let me earn my place back. My chest tightened. I started therapy, he added. I looked up. You. Yes. Why? Because I don't know how to love without running. And I need to learn. A tear slipped out before I could stop it. I don't know if I can trust you again. Then let me show you consistency, he said. Every day. I'm tired of hurting. I know. Silence stretched. Then quietly, sit with me. If you want. His breath shook as he pulled the chair closer. Not too close. We didn't speak. I watched the slow rise of my stomach. He watched too. Careful. Reverent. The baby moved earlier, I said. Strong, he murmured. You can feel, I whispered. If you want. He froze. When I nodded, he placed his hand gently over the blanket. A kick pressed into his palm. He sucked in a breath, eyes filling instantly. That's our baby, he whispered. For the first time in months, I didn't feel completely alone. Not healed. Not whole. But not alone. He pulled his hand back slowly, like he was afraid even that small touch might break something. The room stayed quiet after that. Not empty. Just full. Full of everything we weren't saying yet. A nurse knocked softly and reminded us visiting hours were ending. Lorenzo stood right away. I'll be back in the morning, he said, keeping his voice low. If you want. I nodded once. Small. Careful. When he left, I lay there staring at the ceiling, one hand on my stomach, the other pressed into the mattress like I needed to remind myself I was still here. Still breathing. Still alive. The next few days passed slowly. Doctors came and went. Machines beeped. The baby's heartbeat stayed uneven but stronger every day. I stayed in the hospital longer than planned. They said stress had taken more out of me than anyone realized. Lorenzo never left the building. I knew because the nurses mentioned it. Because Arya rolled her eyes and said he looked worse than I did. Because every time I opened my door, he was somewhere down the hall. Sitting. Waiting. Not pushing. He didn't come in unless I let him. Sometimes I did. Sometimes I didn't. When he was with me, he didn't talk much. He listened. He asked how I felt. He asked what I needed. If I said nothing, he accepted that too. One night I woke up crying without knowing why. My chest felt tight. My hands shook. Before I could stop myself, I pressed the call button. He was there before the nurse. I'm here, he said quietly, stopping a few steps away. I won't touch you. I nodded, breathing hard. He stayed. Just that. And somehow it helped. On the 5th day, they told me I could go home. The word scared me. Home didn't feel safe in my mind anymore. Home was cold gates and broken promises. I can stay with Arya, I said quickly. Lorenzo nodded. Whatever you want. No argument. No guilt. Outside the hospital, the air felt different. Cleaner. Brighter. Like the world had moved on without waiting for me. I stopped before getting into Arya's car. I don't know what happens next, I said quietly. I do, Lorenzo replied. I show up. Every time. Even if it takes years. I looked at him. Really looked. He looked exhausted. Humbled. Stripped down to something raw and honest. I'm not coming back yet, I said. I know, he answered. I'll wait. That word hit differently this time. I got into the car. As we pulled away, I watched him in the mirror, standing there alone in the parking lot, hands shoved into his coat pockets, not chasing, not demanding, just staying where he was. For the first time since that night in the cold, my chest didn't feel so tight. Not healed, but breathing. And for now that was enough. Staying at my sister's place felt strange. Safe but unfamiliar. Her couch smelled like lavender cleaner, and the spare bedroom window faced a quiet street instead of iron gates and cameras. At night I slept with one hand on my stomach, listening to the baby move, reminding myself we were still here. Lorenzo didn't show up unannounced. He texted once in the morning. I'm outside if you need anything. That was it. No pressure. No guilt. No apologies disguised as promises. Some days I didn't reply. Other days I asked him to bring groceries, or my prenatal vitamins, or the blue sweater I'd left behind. He always came alone. He left things at the door unless I told him to come in. When he did step inside, he stayed near the walls, like he didn't trust himself not to cross a line. I watched him change in small ways. He stopped checking his phone every 5 seconds. He listened without interrupting. When I cried, he didn't rush to fix it. He just stayed quiet and let it hurt. One afternoon, I snapped at him over nothing. A stupid comment about tea. He didn't snap back. I hear you, he said. I'll do better. It shocked me more than anger ever could. At my next appointment, the doctor smiled for the first time. The heartbeat is stabilizing, she said. Still cautious, but this is good. I cried in the car. Lorenzo didn't touch me. He just handed me tissues and stared out the windshield, jaw tight, like he was afraid Hope might punish him if he looked straight at it. Weeks passed. One night I stood in the kitchen barefoot, eating cereal out of the box because nothing else sounded right. The baby kicked hard. I laughed without meaning to. He looked up. What? He asked softly. I think they like cereal, I said. He smiled. Small. Real. Later, as he was leaving, he paused at the door. I know I don't get to ask for things, he said. But when you're ready, I'd like to come to the next appointment. I thought about it. Longer than he probably expected. Okay, I said. His breath hitched. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling again. But it felt different now. Not empty. Just quiet. I still didn't know if I could forgive him. I still didn't know if love would come back. But I knew this. He was finally waiting for me. And this time I wasn't standing alone in the cold. The next appointment came faster than I expected. I sat on the edge of the exam table, paper crinkling under me, my hands damp with sweat. The room smelled like sanitizer and something faintly sweet. My heart wouldn't slow down. Lorenzo sat in the chair near the wall. Not beside me. Not crowding. Just there. The doctor talked. Numbers. Charts. Words I half understood. All I really listened for was the sound. Then it came. That steady, fast rhythm filling the room. My breath caught. There it is, the doctor said with a smile. Much more consistent today. I laughed and cried at the same time, covering my mouth. My shoulders shook. I didn't even realize I'd reached for Lorenzo until my fingers brushed his sleeve. I froze. He didn't move. Slowly, carefully, he turned his hand so his palm was open. Waiting. I placed my fingers in it. He squeezed back just enough to say I'm here. Nothing more. When we walked out, neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. The sound of that heartbeat followed me down the hallway like a promise. Outside the air was warm. Sun on my face. I closed my eyes for a second and let myself feel it. I'm glad you came, I said quietly. Thank you for letting me, he replied. That night, back at my sister's place, I stood in the shower longer than necessary, letting the water run down my back. I thought about everything. The cold. The gate. The voice on the phone that wasn't his. And I thought about his hand today. Open. Waiting. Not taking. Trust didn't come back all at once. Came in pieces. A text asking if I ate. Him showing up early and waiting outside. Therapy appointments he never skipped. Silence when I needed it. Presence when I didn't ask. One evening, I caught him asleep on the couch, still in his jacket. He must have been exhausted. I stood there watching him breathe, feeling something ache inside my chest. Not love. Not yet. But something softer than anger. I covered him with a blanket without waking him. When he opened his eyes later and realized what I'd done, his throat worked like he wanted to say something. He didn't. He just nodded. Weeks later, I let him drive me home. Not the estate. A smaller place he'd rented quietly. Neutral. Empty. New. I won't ask you to stay, he said when we arrived. I just wanted you to see it. I walked through the room slowly. Sunlight. Clean walls. No shadows. It's quiet, I said. I thought you might need that. I turned to him. I'm still scared. I know. But I'm more scared of doing this alone. His eyes darkened with emotion. He didn't step closer. You won't be, he said. Even if we don't end up together, you won't be. I swallowed hard. Stay tonight, I said. Just one night. He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months. That night, we slept on opposite sides of the bed. No touching. Just space filled with shared air. In the dark, the baby kicked strong and steady. For the first time since everything broke, I fell asleep without fear. Not because everything was fixed, but because for the first time he wasn't running. And I wasn't waiting. Morning came quietly. No alarms. No rushing. Just pale light slipping through the curtains and the soft sound of traffic far away. I woke up on my side, one hand tucked under my pillow, the other resting on my stomach. The baby rolled slow and steady like they were checking in. I breathed out. Lorenzo was still asleep on the other side of the bed, on top of the covers, fully dressed except for his shoes, like he didn't trust himself to get comfortable. For a second I just watched him. His face looked different like this. Softer. Tired in a way that didn't come from late nights or bad choices but from trying. Really trying. I slid out of bed carefully and went to the kitchen. The place still smelled new. Empty. Like no one had lived here long enough to leave memories behind. I poured cereal into a bowl. Again. Apparently that was my thing now. He appeared in the doorway a minute later, rubbing his face, hair messed up. "Morning," he said quietly. "Morning." He hesitated. "Did you sleep okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, I did." Relief flickered across his face before he could hide it. "I'll make coffee," he said quickly. "Or tea. Or nothing. Whatever you want." "Coffee's fine," I said. He moved like he was afraid of making noise, afraid of doing something wrong. When he handed me the mug, our fingers brushed. Just for a second. Neither of us pulled away too fast. "I'm not saying this means anything," I said, staring into the cup. "I know," he replied immediately. "I'm not assuming anything." That mattered more than he knew. After breakfast he grabbed his keys. "I have therapy in an hour," he said. "I'll come back after if that's okay." "You don't have to check in like that," I told him. He paused. "I want to." When the door closed behind him, the apartment felt quiet again. But not empty. I sat on the couch, one hand on my belly, letting the silence settle instead of fighting it. Later that afternoon my sister stopped by. She looked around, arms crossed. "This place feels different." "It is," I said. She studied my face. "And you?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm not drowning anymore." She nodded slowly. "Just don't disappear into him again." "I won't." When Lorenzo came back, he didn't ask questions. He listened while I talked. About nothing. About everything. About fear creeping in at night. About how close I came to losing myself. "I'm angry," I said at one point. "Some days I wake up angry all over again." "You're allowed to be," he said. "I'm not going anywhere because of it." That night we cooked dinner together. Nothing fancy. Pasta from a box. Sauce from a jar. We stood a safe distance apart, bumping elbows once and laughing awkwardly like strangers trying to remember how they used to talk. Afterward, we sat on opposite ends of the couch. The baby kicked hard enough to make me gasp. "Whoa," I said. He looked over. "Are you okay?" I nodded, smiling despite myself. "Yeah, just strong." He hesitated. "Can I?" I thought about it, then nodded. He placed his hand where I guided it. The kick came again, right on cue. His breath hitched. "I won't mess this up," he said suddenly. "Even if you never forgive me, even if you walk away later, I won't mess this up." I didn't answer right away. "I don't need perfection," I finally said. "I need honesty. And consistency. You'll have both." That night, when we went to bed, I didn't flinch when he turned off the light. I didn't brace for disappointment. I just lay there listening to his breathing match mine. Still cautious. Still healing. But no longer alone in the dark. And for now that was enough. The days started to blend together in a way that felt almost normal. Not easy. Not healed. But steady. Lorenzo kept his routine. Therapy twice a week. Work during the day. Home before dark. No excuses. No disappearing acts. If he was running late, he texted. Plans changed, he explained. Small things. Basic things. The kind of things that used to feel impossible for him. I watched from a distance. Some days I believed him. Other days I waited for the drop. The moment he'd slip and prove this was temporary. Those days scared me the most. One afternoon, I found myself standing in the baby aisle of a store with Arya. Tiny socks. Soft blankets. Rows of cribs and strollers I wasn't ready to imagine yet. My chest tightened. "I don't know how to do this," I admitted quietly. She looked at me. You already are. That night, back at the apartment, I sat on the edge of the bed, holding a small pair of socks I didn't remember putting in my bag. My throat burned. Lorenzo paused in the doorway. What's wrong? He asked gently. I held them up. I almost didn't come back tonight. His face fell, but he didn't interrupt. I got scared, I said. Of hoping. Of believing this version of you. He nodded slowly. That makes sense. I don't know how to trust something that once broke me. He took a step forward, then stopped. Then don't trust it yet. Just watch. That night I cried into my pillow while he stayed awake on the couch. I knew because I could hear him moving softly, making sure I wasn't alone even when I pushed him away. Weeks passed. My belly grew heavier. My back ached. Sleep came in pieces. Some nights I woke up gasping, heart racing, the memory of the cold gate hitting me out of nowhere. Every time he was there. Not touching. Not demanding. Just present. One night I whispered. I was so scared. I know, he said. You left me. I did, he answered. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure I never do again. I turned toward him then. Really turned. I don't forgive you, I said. I know. But I don't hate you anymore. Something in his chest seemed to break open at that. Thank you, he whispered. Not like he deserved it. Like he was grateful for the truth. At my next appointment, the doctor smiled wide. The heartbeat is strong and steady. I laughed through tears. In the car, I let myself lean back and close my eyes. We're okay, I said softly. He nodded. You are. No, I corrected. We. He didn't argue. That night, for the first time, I reached for him in my sleep. Just my fingers curling into his shirt. Not asking. Not clinging. Just grounding myself. He froze. Then slowly, carefully, he covered my hand with his. And stayed still. No promises spoken. No forgiveness granted. Just two people learning how to breathe in the same space again. Not fixed. But finally moving forward. The first real scare came at 3 in the morning. I woke up to a sharp pull low in my belly, strong enough to steal the air from my lungs. I sat up fast, heart pounding, sweat breaking out across my back. Lorenzo, I whispered. He was awake instantly. I'm here. Another wave rolled through me. Not pain exactly. Pressure. Tight. Wrong. I don't like this, I said, my voice shaking. Something feels off. He didn't question me. He didn't tell me to relax. He grabbed his phone, keys, shoes. We're going in. The drive felt endless. Streetlights blurred past the windows. My hands shook as I held my stomach, whispering to the baby like they could hear me. Stay with me, I murmured. Please. Lorenzo drove fast but careful, jaw tight, eyes locked on the road. One hand reached over and hovered near my knee, not touching. I'm right here, he said. You're not alone. At the hospital, everything moved quickly. Too quickly. Nurses. Questions. A wheelchair. Cold gel on my skin. The sound of the monitor filled the room. Then, there it was. Strong. Steady. I let out a sob I didn't realize I'd been holding back. The doctor smiled gently. Braxton Hicks. False alarm. But you did the right thing coming in. My legs felt weak with relief. When we got back to the car, I leaned my head against the seat and laughed through tears. I scared myself. You listen to your body, Lorenzo said. That matters. On the way home, the streets were quiet. Empty. Safe. This feels different, I said softly. What does? Before. I would have handled this alone. He nodded. You don't have to anymore. I didn't answer. But I didn't argue either. That morning, after we crawled back into bed, I didn't stay on my side. I shifted closer. Not touching. Just closer. He noticed. He didn't move. Later that week, we talked about practical things. The baby's room. The birth plan. Names we liked but didn't commit to. Conversations that felt fragile but real. One night I said, I'm still angry. I know, he replied. And sometimes I miss who I thought you were. He swallowed. I'm trying to become better than that. I looked at him for a long moment. Don't try. Just be. He nodded. Okay. The baby kicked hard that night. Strong enough to make me gasp. Lorenzo smiled, eyes soft. They're stubborn. I snorted. Definitely yours. For the first time, he laughed without guilt following right behind it. I didn't forgive him that day. But when I fell asleep, my hand found his again. And I didn't pull away. The weeks after that felt heavier. Not in a bad way. Just real. My body slowed down. Walking too long made my hips ache. Standing up took effort. Sleep came in short stretches, broken by bathroom trips and the baby shifting like they were already impatient with the world. Lorenzo adjusted without being asked. He cooked, cleaned, learned how I took my tea, learned which nights I needed quiet and which nights I needed distraction. He never complained, never acted like he deserved credit. That mattered. One evening, I found him sitting on the floor of the spare room, surrounded by half-built furniture. A crib box lay open, pieces spread everywhere. "What are you doing?" I asked from the doorway. He looked up sheepish. "Losing a fight with instructions." I laughed. Surprised both of us. "I didn't ask you to do that," I said. "I know," he replied. "I wanted to." I watched him struggle with a screw, jaw tight in concentration. For a second the image hit me hard. This man. This room. A future I'd almost lost. Fear crept up my spine. That night it came crashing down. I woke up shaking, my chest tight, breath coming too fast. The memory of the gate. The cold. The voice on the phone that wasn't his. It all slammed into me at once. "I can't do this," I whispered into the dark. He turned toward me instantly. "What's wrong?" "I'm scared," I said, tears spilling before I could stop them. "I keep thinking something bad is going to happen again. That if I let myself believe, it'll hurt worse next time." He didn't rush me. Didn't try to fix it. "That makes sense," he said quietly. "After what I did." I pressed my hand to my chest, trying to slow my breathing. "I don't trust Happy anymore." He sat up slowly, keeping his distance. "Then don't trust it. Trust me showing up tomorrow. And the day after that. That's all I can offer." I looked at him through tears. "What if I never forgive you?" His throat moved as he swallowed. "Then I'll still show up." That broke something open inside me. "I don't want to raise this baby in fear," I whispered. "Then we won't," he said. "Even if it takes time." The baby kicked then. Hard. Like they were demanding to be heard. I let out a shaky laugh. "They're bossy." He smiled softly. "Strong." I leaned back against the pillows, exhausted. "Stay." He didn't ask what I meant. He just lay back down, careful, giving me space. For the first time, I rested my head against his shoulder. Just for a moment. He went completely still, like he was afraid breathing too loud might scare me away. My eyes closed. Not because everything was okay, but because for the first time in a long time, my body believed I was safe enough to rest. I woke up with my cheek still pressed against his shoulder. For a split second, panic flared. My body went stiff, instinct screaming that I'd crossed a line, that I'd wake up and regret it. But he hadn't moved. Not an inch. His arm rested at his side, not around me, not claiming. Just there. Solid. Warm. Breathing slow and steady like he'd stayed awake half the night just to make sure I felt safe enough to sleep. I pulled back carefully. He opened his eyes right away. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey." Neither of us mentioned the way I'd slept against him. We both pretended it was just another morning. And somehow that made it feel okay. The day moved slow. Heavy clouds outside. The kind of gray that made everything quieter. I folded laundry on the couch while he worked at the table, phone calls low, controlled. No shouting. No slammed doors. At one point I caught him watching me. Not staring. Just looking. Like he was memorizing the moment. "What?" I asked. He shook his head. "Nothing." But his voice sounded thick. That afternoon my body hit a wall. Exhaustion crashed down hard, sudden and unforgiving. I sat on the edge of the bed, dizzy, hands gripping the mattress. "I need to lie down," I said. "I'll get you water," he replied instantly. He knelt to help me take off my shoes, movement slow, careful. When he straightened, his eyes met mine. "You don't have to do everything yourself anymore," he said. "I know," I whispered. That night the fear came back. Not sharp. Quiet. Sneaky. "What if you get tired of this?" I asked into the dark. Of me being scared. Of waiting. I won't, he said without hesitation. You don't know that. I do, he replied. Because I know what it feels like to almost lose you. Silence settled between us. Then I asked the question I'd been holding in for weeks. Why now? He didn't answer right away. Because I was a coward, he finally said. And because losing you scared me more than changing ever did. My throat tightened. I don't want to be strong all the time, I admitted. I'm tired. Then don't be, he said. I can hold the weight for a while. I didn't respond. I just shifted closer. Not touching. Just close enough to feel his warmth. The baby moved slow and steady. Hey, I whispered, smiling faintly. They're calm tonight. He exhaled. Maybe they feel it. I rested my hand over my belly and let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this quiet was real. Not forever, but real enough for tonight. And for now that was all I needed. The quiet didn't last forever. Nothing ever does. But it stretched longer than I expected, long enough for my body to stop bracing every second. Long enough for my shoulders to drop without me noticing. Long enough for the baby's movements to feel less like alarms and more like reassurance. One morning I woke up angry. No warning. No reason I could name. I sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, jaw tight, chest buzzing with heat. Lorenzo noticed right away. He always did now. What's wrong? He asked gently. Everything, I snapped. He nodded once. Okay. That was it. No defense. No wounded pride. Just acceptance. It made me angrier. I hate that you're being like this, I said. So calm. So patient. Like you didn't almost destroy me. He swallowed. I know. I don't get to forget, I continued, voice shaking. I don't get to pretend that night didn't happen. I still feel the cold. I still hear her voice. I know, he said again. Softer this time. I stood up too fast, dizziness washing over me. He was there instantly, hands hovering, not touching. Sit, he said. Please. I did. Tears burned my eyes, hot and frustrating. I don't want to punish you forever, I whispered. But I don't know how to stop hurting. You don't have to stop, he replied. You just don't have to do it alone. That cracked something. I covered my face, shoulders shaking, and finally let myself cry the way I hadn't in weeks. Loud. Ugly. Honest. He stayed right where he was, breathing steady, grounding. When it passed, I felt wrung out. Empty. But lighter. I'm scared I'll never be the same, I admitted. You won't be, he said. But that doesn't mean you're broken. Later that day, I went for a short walk with Arya. The air was cool but not cruel. Trees lining the street were starting to change, leaves curling at the edges. You're different, she said carefully. So is he, I replied. She gave me a look. Different doesn't always last. I know, I said. But neither did the old version. And look what that did to us. That night, back at the apartment, Lorenzo handed me a folded piece of paper. What's this? I asked. My schedule, he said. Work. Therapy. Everything. You don't have to look. I just wanted you to have it. Control used to make me feel safe. Now transparency did. I tucked it into a drawer. That night, when we went to bed, I didn't wait for him to fall asleep. I reached for his hand first. Just fingers lacing, nothing more. He inhaled sharply but didn't squeeze too tight. Thank you, he whispered. I didn't answer. But I didn't let go either. The night before everything changed, I couldn't sleep. My body felt too full. Too tight. The baby rolled and pressed and kicked like they were running out of patience. I stared at the ceiling, counting breaths, listening to the soft sound of Lorenzo moving quietly in the kitchen. He came back with a glass of water and set it on the nightstand. Still uncomfortable? He asked. Yeah, I said. Feels different. He didn't panic. But he didn't dismiss it either. What kind of different? I paused, listening to my body. Heavy. Low. And my back hurts. He nodded slowly. We should be ready. I swallowed. Don't say that like it's calm. A small smile touched his mouth. I'm terrified. I'm just not running. That mattered. An hour later, the pain came again. Stronger this time. Sharp enough to make me gasp. Okay. I said, gripping the sheets. That's not nothing. He was on his feet instantly. Shoes, bag, phone. We're going in. The drive felt unreal. Streetlights blurred. My hands shook as I breathed through the pain, counting like the nurse had taught me. Lorenzo kept one hand on the steering wheel, the other hovering near me. You're doing great, he said. Stay with me. At the hospital, everything sped up. Voices, movement, bright lights. A room that smelled like disinfectant and nerves. The doctor checked me, then smiled. You're in early labor. The words hit me hard. Early labor. Lorenzo's face went pale, then focused. We're ready, he said. Whatever she needs. Hours passed. Pain came in waves. Strong. Relentless. I squeezed his hand until my fingers ached. He didn't let go. Not once. You can yell, he told me. I deserve it. I almost laughed. Almost cried. At one point, fear flooded me. The same fear from the night I collapsed. I'm scared, I whispered. I know, he said, pressing his forehead to mine. I'm right here. I'm not leaving. And he didn't. When the baby finally cried, sharp and real, something broke open inside me. Relief. Ah, love so sudden it stole my breath. They're okay, the doctor said. I sobbed. Lorenzo's face crumpled. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he laughed softly, shaking. You did it, he whispered. You're incredible. He didn't take the baby until I nodded. When he did, his hands trembled. My God, he breathed. I won't fail you. I watched him, heart full and fragile. Not forgiven. Not forgotten. But something new had begun. And for the first time I believed we might survive it. The room went quiet after the crying stopped. Not silent. Just calm in a way that felt unreal after everything my body had been through. My arms ached. My chest felt hollow and full at the same time. The baby was placed against me, warm and real, their tiny weight settling something deep inside my bones. I stared down at them, stunned. You're here, I whispered. Lorenzo stood close enough that I could feel him shaking. He didn't touch us until I nodded again. When he did, his hand hovered over the baby's back like he was afraid to breathe wrong. They're perfect, he said, voice wrecked. I didn't answer. I just watched the rise and fall of our child's tiny chest, counting breaths like I'd been doing for months. Later, when the nurses stepped out and the lights dimmed, exhaustion hit me all at once. My body felt empty in a way that scared me. Lorenzo noticed. I'm not going anywhere, he said quietly, pulling the chair closer to the bed. Sleep. I did. When I woke up, the baby was in the bassinet beside me. Lorenzo sat there, eyes red, hair messed up, watching like if he blinked too long he might lose everything. You should rest too, I said. He shook his head. I already did. Right now I'm just here. That word felt different now. Here. The next few days blurred together. Diapers. Nurses. Soft cries in the night. Lorenzo learned everything without complaint. How to swaddle. How to hold without fear. How to walk the floor slowly when the baby wouldn't settle. He didn't rush me. Didn't ask for forgiveness. Didn't touch me unless I reached first. On the third night I watched him rock the baby in the dim light, whispering things I couldn't hear. Promises, maybe. Apologies. Hopes. Something in my chest softened. I don't trust you completely, I said quietly. He looked up, eyes steady. I know. But I trust you with our child. His breath hitched. That's more than I deserve, he said. Don't waste it, I replied. He nodded once. I won't. When we finally went home, it wasn't to the old place. It was to the quiet apartment. Neutral walls. New beginnings. The baby slept between us in a small bassinet, breathing softly. That first night I lay awake listening. To the baby's breaths. To Lorenzo's steady presence. To my own heart no longer racing. I didn't forgive him that day, but I let myself hope. And for now that was enough. 6 months later, I stood by the window with our baby asleep against my chest. The city outside was loud, alive, but inside everything felt still. The good kind of still. The kind that doesn't come from fear, but from finally feeling grounded. Lorenzo was on the floor, putting together a toy he'd already assembled twice and somehow broken again. He looked up at us like we were the only real thing in the room. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Yeah, we are. That still surprised me sometimes. He hadn't become perfect. Not even close. But he was present. Every day. In the small ways that mattered most. Midnight feedings. Doctor visits. Long walks when I needed air. Silence when I needed space. Trust didn't come back all at once. Came like this. One night at a time. One honest answer. One kept promise. I watched him reach out and gently brush our baby's tiny hand. His face soft with something that looked a lot like awe. I'm still scared, I said quietly. He didn't pretend otherwise. Me too. But we're doing it, I added. Yes, he said. Together. I didn't say forever. I didn't say always. But when I looked down at our child safe and warm, and then back at the man who finally learned how to stay, I knew this much was true. I was no longer waiting in the cold. And I was no longer alone. The first birthday cake was crooked. I stared at it on the kitchen counter, frosting uneven. Candles leaning like they were tired too. I laughed under my breath, one hand on my hip, the other steadying the plate. I tried, Lorenzo said behind me. It looked better in my head. I turned. He had frosting on his sleeve and a nervous look on his face, like this moment still mattered too much to him. It's perfect, I said. And I meant it. Our baby squealed from the high chair, fists slamming down. Pure joy with no memory of cold nights or broken promises. Just now. Just love. We sang. Badly. We laughed. We took too many pictures. Later, when the apartment was quiet and the baby finally asleep, I stood on the balcony wrapped in a sweater. The night air was cool but not cruel. Not like before. Lorenzo joined me, not touching, just standing close. I think about that night sometimes, I said softly. The gate. The cold. He nodded. I do too. But it doesn't own me anymore, I added. His breath shook. I'll spend my life making sure it never does again. I looked at him then. Really looked. Not the man who left me waiting. The man who stayed. I still choose myself, I said. He nodded. As you should. And I choose our child. Always. I took a breath. And today, I choose us. He didn't smile. Didn't celebrate. He just whispered, thank you. Like it was sacred. Inside, our baby stirred, then settled again. I went back in, heart steady, step sure. The past didn't disappear. But it no longer defined me. And this time I wasn't standing outside waiting to be chosen. I already was. Fear's still here. Thank you for staying. This wasn't a perfect love story. It wasn't about forgiveness coming easy. It was about pain being seen. About choosing yourself. About learning how to stay. Some wounds don't disappear. They just stop bleeding. And sometimes that's how healing starts. If this story touched you, if it hurt in a way that felt familiar, you're not alone.